Yeah, so there used to be a clock right there before the TV was up. But
Go ahead.
Well, thanks for coming out, study session. So this one, next we have a lot on our agenda. The first part, it's going through the working budget. Seeing what you guys think. These are the initial numbers that came up between me and meeting with all department heads and our consultants and everything like that to try to give you guys an initial budget to look at. So we kind of go through it, answer some questions you guys have, and then by the time you guys have a next study session, it'll be a little more finalized version of the budget before we really get to our public hearing, with our goal adopting this before the end of May. Naturally, we do have time, so if for some reason you guys do want to delay public hearings and things like that, we can until June. Naturally, just good practice for us to hopefully have everything adopted by May, so we can kind of relax while we end the fiscal year and then focus on budget amendments for this year and things like that. So as of right now, for you guys, we'll just start talking about general fund first. We do have a balanced budget. This budget, luckily, we are having we're gonna have another good year assessing wise. Actually have it up.
Thank you.
So working with our assessors, our residential assessed values actually increased over 11% this year. Our commercial assessed values increased by 3%. Now due to Prop A and Headley, we're only going to be limited to the amount we can capture, but we are going to see a nice increase in just residential general taxes that really let us function for the year. Other than that, we tried to keep the budget as simple as possible and try to knock out some things we deem necessary for capital purchases. So you'll see throughout the budget, and the way I kind of did this in Excel for you guys, the little blue column, little notes for me, they all add up to the yellow column at the end. Then anything in red, that's just kind of notes, kind of give you some detail of what actually goes into that specific line item. But for you guys' budget, a lot of it is just carrying contracts throughout the year, the general cost of just running the city from admin staff, PD, and everything like that. Some of the big things for the general fund, we are going to put a little emphasis on DPS this year and get some much needed capital for them. So in the general fund, we got half of the truck costs that they desperately need. We got some plow package for one of the trucks that does not currently have a plow package. We have some cement blocks that are kind of an Eagle requirement for storage at the facility, and then some other miscellaneous things.
Oh, we did that before. I mean, the blocks.
I think when we initially built it, but the
Yeah.
the problem is that they're not high enough according
Yeah,
to.
so-
No, that's not what I'm talking about. It was literally required of us to do that before. It was a requirement. That was on the,
You thinking about the roof?
was it that the requirement of that? Yeah, okay, I knew we had some requirement. that was
We had some
on.
roofing requirements and we had some drainage upgrades that we had that we're required to do over
Right, okay.
Yeah, so this is for like the outside storage of material. Naturally, we do have some cement blocks out there per Eagle. Naturally, they're not tall enough because as soon as you pour stuff there, it can easily just blow over and spread throughout the yard. And then also another big thing for them, they need a new furnace at that building. After that building started to show its age, one of the big things, they actually had a furnace company come out and take a look this past year, and the furnace is well past its useful life. It's spitting out a little more carbon than they wish, so something just simple for that building to make their lives a little bit better out there. And other than that, we just got things like SACRA, they're increasing their rates, so that's just gonna get passed on through residents, that's covered by our taxes, so that should be good.
So on soccer, when that goes up, that means that our water bills are gonna go up.
SACRA recycling.
Recycle,
Yeah,
okay, so
SACRA,
that means that
we'll
we're
talk
going
about
to
that.
get an increase in what?
We have refuse millage that covers that.
Okay,
So-
just making really clear
Yeah.
to residents that we don't set the rates for.
Yeah, a lot of our rates for our big three, sewer, trash recycling, and water, they're all set by outside agencies. We essentially take that cost and pass it along, and then take a little bit for our operation needs. And we'll dive into water and sewer a little bit, but just to kind of cover the general fund. Bruce, I know you'll have some questions, you brought some up earlier to me, so we can kind of start hitting those and work our way through this.
So do you want to do it as you're going through the pages? Just do.
Yeah, if you just want to kind of.
Well, I'll go. Anyone else? I'll go first again, I guess. It
wouldn't
so.
be right if you didn't go first.
Page 3. So the first one was I noticed that you have the special assessment for El Dorado in there. And there's nothing budgeted in there for revenue, but that there should be revenue budgeted for that in the local streets, which I didn't see in there unless it was buried in some other category.
Yeah, the way me and Michelle did this, since it's such a minor amount, we kind of have it buried in with
Okay.
everything else with local streets.
All right, and then this, is it the same thing with Cambridge, because
Yeah,
the
because
Cambridge was.
they're both such a small amount. It's either we essentially create a brand new line for it, and then have to carry that over year. We kind of just bury it with everything else.
Okay, and then, cable TV revenues, so we had, that's revenue, not expense.
Yes.
Right, so that's why, I was, yeah, never mind, I have no question there, it just dawned on me. Community garden revenue, is that zero because people bought the plots, or is it an annual renewal?
We'll have to dig into that some more. I looked at it from actuals from this year, and I haven't seen anything. So we'll have to, me and Michelle can kind of dig into that a little bit more to see what past practice was for that, but we just haven't seen anything for it.
All right, and then the community room and building revenue, so right now we're at 39,000, so that's roughly,
The actuals for their end of January. So
Okay.
since this was built on Excel, as soon as I downloaded it, naturally I can't just keep downloading new versions and copy and paste on mess everything up. So
Okay.
those actuals are just kind of guiding points from the end of January.
okay, so
So
then
that's why the
that,
actual only looks like it's 40 grand.
right,
even though
so I was gonna ask why it was so big, but
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Yeah, and that went up too because we've approved new rates for that, so we
Yeah.
should see a nice little increase for there.
And then on, let's see, is that still stay on the general fund? Yeah, so in expenses on page 5, I assume that's a typo, it says Sockwa, is that, I assume that's Sockwa,
Page 5.
in the red. I wasn't sure if that was something I didn't.
SOCPWA, what it says.
Oh, that is Southeast Oakland County Public Works Association.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of acronyms, but yeah, they charge us yearly PB members for that. And that one is it's a very useful membership where they can help provide emergency services if needed.
Okay. And then at the bottom of page 6 on public safety,
So staying real quick on page
Yep.
5 for the cable television, is that saying that it's going up an additional 48,000? Because I'm looking at the LVTV contract and the cable television.
Yeah, so digging through the contract, their price is about $4 grand a month. So 4 times 12 gets to that 48.
And they want 58.
No, that 58 includes, since it's cable television, I included the council, so everything in red is included in that 58.
Okay, sorry.
So you get the contract, you get the council chamber cameras, and the miscellaneous put a little in there, so if we do have a lot of community events, and we do actually want them to come out and record them, that funding will help pay for that.
So with this chamber camera upgrade though, this is gonna be where you reduce a camera person though, so then their contract
that's
should be
the
actually
goal.
going down.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you're budgeting for current staffing, but anticipating potentially.
Well,
lower
their contract right now is $4 grand a month. The staffing ends up being more than that. So sometimes their bills will actually end up being about $4,400 a month if
Right.
we have more meetings and more camera people.
Okay.
So that's contract language, camera upgrade. So hopefully that 48 is a good
Solid.
number.
Yeah, okay, great.
bottom of page 6 on public safety. So for salary, full-time, and employee taxes and benefit, there's an estimate in there that includes for the new contract?
I put a minor buffer in there because naturally we don't start negotiations until July.
Right.
So I built in somewhat of a buffer. Naturally, I don't want to say it out loud for negotiation purposes, but I did build something in for that. So this includes taking the current employees, getting them to their new rate per their contract once they meet their next year of service, and then built in a buffer for potential.
Right, so I guess the reason why I'm bringing this up is so, based on the renewal of the contract, we're gonna get hit for half a year this year.
Mhm.
So next year is gonna be a lot more troublesome in terms of a hit to the general fund, because we're gonna take the full brunt of the new contract.
Potentially, and that's the point of negotiations, is
Right.
naturally you see their employee taxes and benefits, almost 700 grand. Insurance alone's well over half of that. So if we go into negotiations and we work with them on salary, but they give us a little back in insurance, things could potentially even out a little bit, but
Right.
this is kind of going,
But based on precedent from other communities, this is gonna be
Yeah.
a big hit, and it's probably gonna,
it's
it's gonna hurt next year.
It's gonna be a fun negotiation.
Right.
I know that, yeah.
On 6 for HVAC, that's not including the building, the other building, correct? I guess, I mean.
No, for
okay.
this, it would just be here.
Mhm.
Yeah, HVAC maintenance, that'd just be here. I'd say for the most part, the guys over there and then Sunday, they can do a lot of things by themselves. But the biggest thing over there, we have budgeted under public services where we're replacing their heating system. So hopefully with that, they don't need anyone to come out this next year. But yeah, this 40 grand, it's pretty all encompassing for essentially this building.
Page 8, middle of the page, public services, just wanted to verify the third line down for employee taxes and benefits, that's retiree, right?
Yes, that's all retirees.
That's-
Yeah, that's why you don't
right.
see salaries for anyone
Right.
charged to that, it's just retirees. So you'll see that a lot, especially when we get into like water and sewer, you'll
Yeah.
see that where retired taxes and benefits look extremely high, but mainly retirees that hit these accounts.
Yeah, on page 9, first line, I was just curious exactly what that was, where it dropped from 66,000 to 0.
Oh, so that'd be this current year. As an error on my part when I submit an invoice, and that you'll see professional and contractual, and then you'll see SACRA, where it's .001, that account number is just different. So that's been rolled in together. So that's all SACRA right there.
Got it.
Yeah, so we've already fixed that internally with the journal entry.
Bottom of that page, under major road, it says state shared revenue, I'm assuming that's Act 51. Can we change the label on that? Because that's a little confusing, given that it's not really state shared revenue.
Yeah, we can work on that. And one thing with this budget I forgot to mention, this next year too, we have to implement a new chart of accounts. So there's a lot of these categories in the general fund that are actually gonna get modified this next
Right.
year. And so the dollar value is all gonna stay the same, the lines, just titles might change. But we'll see if we can actually change this in this one, but I know in the new chart of accounts we should be able to.
Page 10, for local roads, I'm sorry, still on major roads on the expenditure side. I didn't see anything in there that would show the expenditure for Southfield Road and then the 146,000 that we contribute as part of the tri-party for 11 miles. So is that this year?
That'd be this year.
Okay.
Yeah, since you guys are gonna hopefully approve that agreement tonight at your guys' meeting, the intent is for that construction project to be done this fiscal year, so that'd
Yeah.
that'd hit this year.
Okay, so on page 11,
Well, you were just.
go ahead. No, that's why I paused to see if I don't want to get too far.
I'm messing with you. Cause you don't.
All right, so on page 11, so looking at the Act 51 for major and local.
Yep.
So it looks like we've got 410 in major and 190 in local.
That's what's projected this year.
Yeah, so, because I know with Act 51, it's supposed to be 50-50 across the two, and then you can take as much as 25% and transfer it over. So it looks like we're doing a transfer of 200,000 to local. So I just wanted to make sure, are we in line with the 75-25 split?
I'll have to double check because actually, the way you can kind of work your way around that is with fund balance too, just accounting for that, but I'll double check with
Yeah,
Michelle.
and that brings up something else that I've brought up a lot over the last 3 years. So they implemented a law that allows more flexibility for how we use our Act 51 dollars if we do a road asset inventory. So that's something that, I mean, it's obviously not a huge high priority, but that's something that long-term we should look into doing. Because I don't think it's that huge of an effort, but then it gives us more flexibility as we. Yeah. Yeah, and then just two things just to point out here. One is that, you know, we're essentially back to where we were before, so we don't really have a local road program. You know, now that the
Yeah,
village is over.
And that's the entire point of that larger transfer is trying
Yeah.
to build that local road fund balance back up.
Yeah.
Because
Well-
naturally, one of the biggest things we want to do is go after road grants. You need matching funds to do that. Naturally, matching funds typically for these grants will come out of your fund balance. So if you don't have that, you aren't going to qualify.
Right, and so for the last 3 years, we hadn't been doing that transfer because we were growing
Exactly.
the major.
Yeah, and it makes- yeah.
Because we could use the Act 51 to cover what we had in local.
Exactly.
so.
And it makes complete sense with the road program you had. Is you focus on the major, you need the money to go there. But now that those big projects are essentially over, now it's time to kick some of that money back to local roads so we can keep doing projects in the future.
Yeah, and the other thing, especially since Brandon's here, that's good to note is between major, local, and public service, you got $70,000 in there for forestry, which is good.
Yeah.
So.
I say you can't use all of that. 'cause
Yeah,
all
yeah,
of it's
you
just
don't need to
straight
use all of
trimming,
that, but just to make you happy.
Just keep going, people stop you. No, you're not done.
I'm still looking, long pause for you guys to jump in anytime. So I was trying to remember the money we get from Talib. That wasn't a grant, right? That's or is it a grant? Do we have to put a match up for that?
To Leaves project.
Yeah.
It was
discretionary.
Yeah, it's discretional directed spending. The way they typically work, it's a reimbursement grant. It's one of those things, it's not budgeted for this year, because I don't know when it's gonna hit. Normally when they announce it, you won't see it for another year or two.
Right.
And since it's a water infrastructure, it'll probably go through FEMA or something like that, so realistically, that would be probably a 26 project at the earliest.
Yeah.
And at that point, yeah, we would budget for that, we would budget the expense for that and wait for the additional revenue. to come in.
So that's what I figured. So the $400,000 that we have in there for water mains for this budget, that's
just
other.
straight projects.
Straight, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess the other question I had in there, I mean, just given the balance that we have in the water and sewer fund, and I know some of that money you keep in there and build up gradually for things like water meters and stuff like that. But, I mean, is it possible that we can divert a little bit more of that money to a bigger project next year for water mains, just to continue the progress we're making? Or?
You could absolutely, like this year, for this budget, I only budgeted $400,000. Say we work with Wrangler, we identify more lines, they come back and say, hey, we found $650,000 worth of water mains we think you guys could do. Do you want to do it? And that's where we come to you guys, like, hey, we have this opportunity. Would you guys want to use more fund balance to do this? So that'd be something we could easily come back to you guys for.
Just with a budget amendment
Yep.
versus what you got in there, 'cause I would
So-
say this is, sorry.
When you said it's a reimbursement grant,
For
or so the other one?
to leave, if they're both congressionally directed spending, my experience with them, they end up being reimbursement grants.
Well, she just texted me and she said the projects we submitted are for direct funding, it's not a grant.
Well, that'd be better news then.
Yeah, 'cause that's what I thought when we talked about
Yeah,
it, that's what I thought you
so-
said, that's.
But you still don't know when the money's gonna come.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking. When do we get our money?
Yes, it's coming through with the feds, who knows,
Right.
but that would be better news if they would just cut the check and we submit the report
Sure,
afterwards,
right.
but who knows what their requirements are yet.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'd like to see more money put into water mains, and we've got a huge balance in that fund. I mean, if we could put a couple $100,000 in there and, continue to build on the progress that we've made, I think that would be well spent. Something to consider.
Yeah, I'd say since we're on water and sewer, naturally with these, and we kind of touched on it earlier, I mean, rates. So we're with our new finance director, Michelle. We've been reviewing the rates hard the past couple weeks, and then luckily Evergreen Farmington finally released their rates today. So what we're kind of proposing for this next year, 5% increase to water and a 3% increase to sewer. Now the water, we're gonna see essentially a 4.5% increase pass through from GLWA and Sakura. Evergreen Farmington, their rate for us is based on a 5-year window of usage. Ours actually went down, so our rate is essentially gonna stay the same this current year or potentially drop a little bit. The biggest thing with them and with sewer, we do have some sewer projects that we wanna take on. We still have sewer bond payments that we need to pay off. And additionally, with Evergreen Farmington, they're gonna see about $12 million worth of bonds get issued by 2027, 2028. So they're highly recommending to their their partner communities that they slowly start increasing their rates now before those bonds hit. Because once those bonds hit, they're gonna get naturally passed on to all the communities. If we don't touch our rates just because we're having a good year with them, we potentially see a 1 year 10% increase in sewer. So we're trying to take little steps at this, especially this sewer, and then also keep projects going with this. So we do have some manholes that we wanna rehab or install and hopefully do some more sewer lining this year. So, in doing that, doing the math for it, currently a monthly charge for residents is about $69.80. With these proposed rates, it's about $71.77.
Minimum.
Minimum
Four
monthly charge.
unit minimum.
Yep. So that's a $1.97 a month increase, folks.
Anything else?
Just a couple of general comments. So I know one of the things we've talked about before is a rate book. So if that's something we'll get more towards May or June, or that not as part of a draft right now, or?
Yeah, your fee book.
Fee book,
Yeah, the fee book, not having free book, it's
Yeah.
all the same thing. I could potentially have a draft to you guys at the next study session just to kind of see. But the goal would for you guys to adopt an official updated fee book when you adopt the budget and capital improvement plan. So hopefully make that a new yearly thing where this all happens at one time.
Yes, that was a great idea of his. You know, we, in the report that we put together, 2 months ago or a month ago, whatever, there were, a lot of those things that were listed in there were, look at these fees, look at these fees, look at these fees. So Mike's suggestion was to create a fee book that gets upgraded with the budget every year. So I think that's a really good idea.
And it's something the city, there's been versions of it saved, and we've all seen it, at least internally as staff. But it's just one of those documents where it gets updated every single year. It's easy to post on the website. You can always just draw people to it. You don't necessarily have to update every single application and form, new fees every single year. You just say, see the fee book.
Yeah.
It's just easy management from internally.
Yep. And then the other question I had is, so obviously we've got the spreadsheet here to guide us through it. Is there gonna be a budget book like we've done every year to?
It's gonna be a little different than you guys done in the past, but yeah, you guys will get a formal budget letter. This will all get actually transported into BSNA, so it'll come out in BSNA format, but you guys will be getting something.
Good.
Yeah.
This is very petty. Is there a way we can get like lines?
Well, see, you're not. I have all three of I have three things like that written here, and I was like,
Yeah.
all right, I don't want to bring up another one. No, thank you very much.
It makes sense. When I'm looking at it in Excel, I have the lines, and then when I save it in PDF, I get it. Understandable. Yeah. And when it comes out in BSNA, it's essentially like color coded, so
Yeah.
it should be nice and
As
easy.
the oldest council member, please. Yeah, the other thing I was gonna ask is like there's a lot of empty space in the middle. Could you possibly compact it a little bit and maybe make
Yeah,
it portrait?
that one, just a little laziness on my part. I was going through trying to find that one cell that was driving me nuts,
Yeah.
and couldn't by the time I needed to get the packet ready.
And actually, one other thing that might be good on here too, if you can, is to put a difference column at the end, an extra column that shows the difference between what we're doing this year and
Yeah,
what we
that's
had
easy
budgeted
enough.
last year.
So you want them to shrink it?
Shrink it, but
Put it-
put an extra
Yeah,
column
add
in,
another
exactly.
column.
Jeez. Fill in that blank space.
Hey, you're gonna get old someday too.
And until then, I will just continue to tease the old.
Just so, page 13, the construction fees, just, can you just go over that real quick? I know the answer, I think so.
So what do you mean for construction fees?
Like, just because what you have budgeted is such a massive difference.
Oh, you're looking at the road and millage bond fund.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's essentially just, actually, we're gonna do road millage bond projects, so that fund's gonna drastically come down. This is essentially covering the bond payments. So that's all this fund is essentially used for now. So that's why there's such a dramatic, there's no more construction tied to this.
Is that what you thought the answer would be?
Yeah.
He did his homework.
I talked to him earlier today.
Oh.
Anything else? Going to, are you done?
I don't know.
Okay, so going to B Finance Review Committee, it was something that, we talked about before, but was introduced to me more specifically at the South Oakland, County Mayors Association, Ferndale, put together a finance review committee, and their primary goal was to see about doing a Headley override. The actual people that was on, the residents that was on the committee were actually there to speak, and it was really, it was one of our better meetings, just to say the side note, but, for the mayor's,
Well, useful sock.
it was finally, I mean, I say it that way, it was a useful, yes,
Yeah.
okay, leave it at that. And I wanted to bring it back to Lathrop for us to have the same thing, but for Finance Review Committee. However, the one thing that they made it very clear of, and I wanted to, my preference would be for it to be clear here too, is that the people that was on this committee for Ferndale were in finance. Their background was finance. They did something with it. It was not just, you can join the committee because you lived here for 25 years, kind of thing. I introduced it, go ahead.
Yeah, the mayor pretty much nailed it. So in your guys' packet, I just included the example of what the Ferndale committee created. So this is something our committee can do as well. One of the things with this type of committee, in my opinion, I think it needs to have a true goal and a finite period to achieve that goal. So for example, Ferndale, I think they gave them 6 months, and it was, like the mayor said, is to determine should we go for a Headley override or not. And their recommendation was yes at the end of the day. So if you guys were to move forward with this, like Mayor said, it would make sense to have someone with financial backgrounds on this committee, with the council liaison and staff, just so we can all work together. But it would be one of those things where if we do this, and have you guys approve new members at your guys' next meeting, have them have an end goal, say October, November, that's when you guys need to have your report done, and this is what we're looking for from you guys.
So I didn't read the, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, you know, I think we should make the goal of it, though, not that specific. I think the goal should be a little bit more general in terms of an approach towards increasing our revenue, because, you know, the options are not just Headley. It's, you know, we could do nothing. You know, we could do a Headley. We could do a Headley with a more permanent, you know, like Ferndale had a 10-year non-rollback clause in theirs. We can do a public safety. We can do a public safety special assessment. So there's a lot of different options that I think that need to be looked at to figure out which one would best suit us. So I don't want to pigeonhole us by saying, you know, Headley specifically.
I don't want to put that much on, I mean, for me, I don't want to put that much on Finance Review Committee. It's like we make the decision of which one we want to do and have them investigate it. That's, to me, that would be asking a lot, though.
I don't think so. It's no different than what we did in infrastructure. I mean, we looked at.
Look at the debacle of, look at the debacle.
Yeah,
of
but we
infrastructure.
looked at a lot of, you know, we had 5 or 6 different ways of financing it, and we, you know, came through and made a recommendation.
And how long did it last?
To do that part, a few months.
How long did the infrastructure committee?
But that was
stay?
different. Those were 2-3-year projects. And they were major projects. You know, you're talking $11-12 million worth of expenditure.
I think that maybe we should come through the finance committee of how they did it, maybe have even, some of the people from the committee from Ferndale come over and maybe explain why they did streamline it, instead of trying to make something new out of
Well, they
something.
did. They had 4 or 5 options, but theirs were mostly, what were they, Headley. Same thing they did. They had a chart in there with 5 different options.
So they did do it.
Yeah.
Is this a deadline committee? Like,
It's
this
the whole
is not
thing.
like an ongoing thing for
Right.
3 years.
No, it'd be
Be
like a
like 6
deadline
months.
to,
6 months.
because the idea is if, you know, if the recommendation is something that requires resident votes, we need to get it on the
Media
ballot.
moving, and that's the entire point of giving them the deadline.
Yeah, so they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different options.
Mm-hmm.
Would they be working with Plant Moran at all? Or no?
Most likely city staff, so either be myself and Michelle. Because based on a couple people I've talked to on Ferndale, see what they did, a lot of it's just internal data they're looking for. They're just looking for internal budget numbers that only really we can pull from like BSNA and things like that. So, if anything, our actually new auditors could get involved a little bit, but I think it's just mostly be staff and the committee.
on page 75 of the packet is the table that shows the different scenarios that they investigated.
Yeah, that's what I just showed her.
Thank you, Jason.
You're so
Help us scroll.
So then, I don't understand what you're asking, what you're different with.
I'm not. I'm just saying, just making the distinction that it may not, you know, everybody keeps saying Headley, it may not be a Headley.
They came up with, okay, then maybe I just wasn't clear in
Yeah.
explaining myself, is the fact that was the decision that they came up with from this committee that was
Right.
4 to 6 months, so I don't understand what you mean for the pigeonhole. I mean, that was my understanding.
So instead of
Because-
just asking
because-
them,
So-
should
If
When
I
we do
may,
Right.
if I may, I misunderstood you as well.
That's why I just submitted and said maybe I didn't come
Yeah.
across correctly, young men
Misunderstood.
at the
So-
table, all men. You see what's happening right here?
I didn't know. So she was saying
I'm
that they
doing
chose.
the woman talk, and they have to do the man talk. Mansplaining to me. Go ahead.
No, I just
Go ahead.
misunderstood what you were saying. What Bruce thought you were saying, let's just look at Headley. Bruce wanted to look at all the options.
Right.
And from what you said, they looked at all the options, and he was just saying the same thing. Just
Opposite the way that it was given to me.
The way we always do,
So, You all are right, I'm wrong. I'm
I-
just a mere woman.
I just said I misunderstood.
Why do people go man versus woman thing?
Because I just realized I'm the only woman sitting at the table. I really just realized.
You never asked my gender. Just assumed.
That was on him. I mean, he doesn't, you know.
I didn't assume his gender.
Okay, well, okay, but we're done with that one, so we'll get in trouble off of that crap too, so. Yeah, I brought it back, I flipped through this as fast as possible while we were at the meeting, and I just really thought it was a good idea, and I really would even encourage, the chair of the finance review from Ferndale to come and talk to us also, cause she was, she had just moved to Ferndale maybe a couple of years or whatever, but she was able to have a critical eye, I guess you can say. That's that right?
Yeah, the timing was great because Scott and I had just had a conversation too about how we move forward from, you know, the report. And that's a
Yeah.
great way. That was his suggestion as well, so it's all simpatico.
Yeah, I was gonna say simpatico
the stars are aligning.
Stars are
I think
aligning.
it's
Oh.
too. Serendipitously.
it's serendipitous.
Yeah.
It's a great idea to just have the residents who have experience
The key thing is,
Experience.
to do this work with the city staff.
absolutely, I think it's a great idea, so, but I think it's also, I don't know if it's trying to figure out the wording for the actual, requirements to be on this one, even though I think all of the committees should have new requirements on them, but this one, seeing that this will be brand new to have.
I imagine Ferndale will be glad to share that information.
Well, for sure.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel, just pick up the phone.
Right, and,
Right,
well, that's what
right.
I'm saying, if we could call them and find out what it is, and.
Yeah, and their application was available online, so
Yep.
I can try it.
I didn't, I did that one, cause I did
think
have
you
it
did.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's
Okay.
up online, and I think you gave me a copy.
Yeah, okay. So when do we think we want that to happen?
Well, let's get the application out and, yeah, hopefully we can do it by next month.
Yeah, I could probably, since I'm out at the end of the week, I'm probably have
You are?
I'm
No,
out
so-
at the end of the week, so I probably have the application out early next week, and then you guys next meeting, hopefully approve some board members.
Okay.
So if anything, just general questions, how do you, 5 people on the committee, 1 council member, 4 people at large, or?
I think that's good.
So
Is
they're
that,
like
is that
90.
without city staff?
But they're all 10 times the
Five
size of us.
residents.
I get it.
It's on average, we have 5, so
Yeah,
I think
I'm
that'll be
thinking-
enough.
I think it's like
Seems
5
reasonable.
voting members, so it'd be a council member and the 4 committee members, staff is just there.
Okay. They're just there.
Support staff.
Do we know who actually wrote the report from the Ferndale Finance Review Committee? And was it written by the chair? Did everybody contribute to it?
She wrote her group, she wrote it, the group's committed to her.
Yeah, they reviewed it and everybody there.
She wrote it, the chair did. And there's another lady, I just can't remember what her role was for it, she was, pretty good also. Because then they also said, this was a side note of what we talked about in our pre-meeting, is that they talked about the need to figure out how they can do totally different thing, but the capping and the uncapping of taxes and having it mandatory where we can, lobby to make sure that realtors have to put it on there and bigger letters about the cap coming up. So they have more where this particular committee can break out into maybe some other things. I'm done. Anyone else have any questions about this?
No, I support it, and I think it's a, start throwing together application.
I don't support it.
Committee.
Okay, so, here's that. Opening of closed streets.
So back in.
Oh, I'm sorry, me again.
Yep.
So I asked Mike to put this on our, agenda because it kind of like just got dropped from when we talked about opening the San Jose. I don't know how to say it, San Jose Street, and, nothing ever came of it, but it's still an issue that we have to think about, and so.
Right, where we had it last, oh, sorry.
No, you
I was gonna, where we had it last is we were waiting for cost estimates for a siren activated gate, and that never happened, that got dropped.
What's the issue?
You wanna give background, or you want us to give back?
If you guys get background, you have a little more hands on.
And then jump in when you feel like
Sure.
it. That the, fire chief, Southfield Fire Chief came, to let us know that they wanna get access to our community easier, and so opening up San Jose, I keep saying Santa Rosa in my brain, I don't know why, for access to get to that side of the city quicker, and so he gave us a demonstration of coming from 12 Mile and Evergreen, they would have to go 12 Mile east, then south on Evergreen, do the turn onto 696, come over. It was complicated, where you could just open up that street, which is right at, what is that, 12 and a half, or 11 and a half, whichever way you're coming from. And, residents were, of course, concerned about having, cut through.
There. Okay.
But we had an option of perhaps getting a siren activated gate. And it was last left, as Bruce said. We were supposed to be getting some costs for it, and surprise, it never happened.
Yeah, they actually wanted to do more than just San Jose, they wanted to do all the streets
Lathrop.
along Lathrop to the east, but we were, that was quite contentious.
So when this was dropped, was the only thing that was being considered replacing the current barricade at San Jose with a activated gate?
I think there was a bunch of options or thoughts behind it, but we left it at getting the information for the gate first. One was just to open it, another one was just to have it where it's like a berm, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that only like trucks could go over.
Yeah, well, to say it was contentious is an understatement.
Yeah.
And I think the least, the most pacifying for the residents would be that it wouldn't be open continuously for
Yep.
just whoever wants. And so
Yep.
the siren activated gate made the most sense, but, yeah.
But the siren activated is also on, Lathrop's back.
Yeah, of course, you have to pay for it, and have to budget for it. I'm assuming this is not in the budget that you just presented?
No.
Okay. And we don't have the information, we don't know how much it would cost.
I think he said somewhere around 10 grand, I think.
For the siren
The
activated.
gate, I believe, but,
But to buy the gate and install
and
it?
then it has to be installed, and,
Yeah,
yeah,
so these power and.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of hidden costs with
Yeah.
power and then
Yeah.
annual maintenance and everything like that, and then who knows what will happen the first time it fails.
They drive through it, and then.
Yeah.
Then they have to replace the gate, and,
So yeah, based on this, I can do a little more homework, try to get a more firm cost on what this could potentially be before we start discussing it more and getting the residents involved.
I just wanted to bring it back up to stuff because I didn't want anyone to think it was just dropped and that it was a resolved situation. Anyone have any questions, further questions?
It's a good idea to investigate. Support that.
City administrator performance measures / goal setting.
So these next two kind of go together. For the past couple months, we've been kind of working on setting up a more dedicated meeting for you guys to set the performance measures for myself, and then set more council goals for you guys. We've tried to do the polls. Unfortunately, we can never get a good enough response to those to warrant a special study session or special meeting. So this is kind of just hoping you guys pull up your calendars right now, see what kind of works over the next couple of
Put us
weeks.
on the spot, huh?
Absolutely.
Okay,
First of
then.
all, I don't recall a doodle poll, so.
It came out, I inadvertently skipped it also. It got buried as normal. So either we can make a, separate meeting, we get together again, or we, can just use one of our study sessions.
When are we looking for this to take place?
Well, if you wanna do this in April, then it's gonna be
No.
before our next,
I don't have time. I'm sorry.
and this is why the doodle poll doesn't work.
Yep.
We will have to go somewhere in May. I have no more free time in April.
Well, May 6th will be our next study session.
So today is the
So-
15th, and you have no more free
No.
time, okay.
It's fine, if you're not available until May 1st, we might as well just do it on
let's
May
just make
6th.
sure-
Right,
Just so you
exactly.
remember you said that.
Until.
It's important that you're part of this, so.
I'm
I'm
not
okay.
available
There's a good chance I won't be part of it,
until.
because in May we're expecting, and I just imagine I won't have as much time. I might be a little sparse.
That's why it might probably make sense to just do it at that point, just do it at the May 6th
Just do
study
a May
session.
6th study session then.
So that would mean that we do nothing else at that meeting.
If anything, it will be this and just continuing budget conversation a little bit. But based on today and just.
And it'll be, just know that that's gonna be an evening of, it's not gonna be a short meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is just study session, we don't have a meeting right after, so we have time.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm just saying, the choices are, have a separate meeting, or we do May 6th, and plan on being here for a while. We will not be just not talking and agreeing on stuff.
I mean, we could probably do some homework at a time and, come up with via email, distributed via mic, drafts of.
I don't doubt that, but I'm just saying, I also wanna make sure that everybody knows this, I'm thinking 6 to at least 9 o'clock, that
Sure.
you're gonna be here.
Yep.
That's fine.
No, I'm not looking at you, I'm just, I'm not gonna get on my soapbox, but just, this is what you signed up for, so. I'm looking, if I showed you my schedule, if I showed you my schedule and
You've had a week before where you could do something.
I don't have a whole month where I said
It's
that I
not a
could not
whole
come
month.
into a meeting.
It's not a whole month.
You just said it.
I just don't want to be associated with the same anger, because
I'm
I
not
didn't
angry.
say.
I can
She
really.
is not angry at me.
I was gonna
Okay.
say that you.
I-
Most people know when I'm angry. They've seen it.
I know. She is not
I haven't
angry.
seen it yet.
It's
You said
scary.
it.
I've seen it? Well, now I don't even know what it looks like.
Because we weren't paying
Oh, no.
attention.
You're more terrified.
I'm confused. I've seen it and haven't noticed.
I know. I'll put a sign up saying it's coming
Okay.
now.
Well, would you do it? What Monday would you do
May 6th.
it? But if I accommodate your April dates,
Oh, if you wanna do it in April.
what day would everybody
Look,
be available?
April 22nd is Passover, so that's probably.
I can't do April 22nd.
All right, how about we start?
Well,
How about we
there's
start?
only one
What
April.
days can you do?
Well,
in
okay. Do
April
you want to do
20th.
another day outside of Monday?
I'm just saying
I'm
that
preferable
Yeah,
to.
so just put it on May 6th. I mean, it's, at this point, we're getting close to it anyways, so.
the 29th is open, and then you can have it on the May 6th also. So it's up to you all. It's just the fact is that just
I can't
we
do
have
it
to
on
be.
the 29th
Ooh.
Did you just say what Monday?
But he also- he asked what other days.
Yeah.
What other days?
Just it's
too?
May 6th.
May 6th.
Yeah, we're done.
I can give you a
Nope.
Thursday maybe.
May 6th.
I could do a Friday like during the day.
Ah,
Strangely enough.
give you a Thursday.
It's May 6th. We'll just take that study session and
Okay.
May 6th it is.
next thing is social media, and this is gonna kinda piggyback on something that I saw on the expense side. So,
Sorry.
what?
Just thought about what web developer level.
So,
Archive Social?
you would say?
Archive Social?
Yes, yes, thank you for looking at me on. So, we need to talk about social media, just a reminder for that, that would come from Scott. But then I also saw
Archive Social.
that well, I guess we still have to archive. We're
Yeah.
just archiving what's on the city's
Correct.
Facebook.
Correct.
The
So
cities
since
that-
we're not doing that for Facebook pages that are not operated from the city, we as council people should not be commenting on anything that could possibly come up in council meetings, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So that's a recent update. So this is nothing new. My suggestion for council members has always been to limit your use of social media as a council member. It's difficult to differentiate between your personal page and then what you use it for when you're commenting on things as official city business. So there was a recent Supreme Court case that was decided. And the question specifically around that was whether or not, as a public figure, you can regulate content on your social media. And so by regulating content, I mean blocking people, removing comments that you don't agree with. And so what the court and the way courts typically do is they issue their opinions, and they in their head thinks it sounds really clear and it's resolve the issue completely for everyone to understand. But in reality, all it does is just make things a little more complicated. So, what their infinite wisdom, their position is that does the individual have actual government speaking authority on the involved social media topic, and then are they utilizing that speaking authority in the involved social media exchange? So, if you're which is a bunch of words that don't make a whole lot of practical sense, but basically you're using your Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or X, whatever it's called now. If you're using that and you're commenting in an official capacity, you're giving an update on a situation that is relevant to residents or something, then you're in essence you're communicating in an official capacity. So if someone were to comment on that post that you took displeasure with, or you didn't agree with, or you wanted to remove that, now you're entering into an area where you're potentially infringing on that individual's First Amendment rights because you're a public official, you're making a public comment about something that is relevant to the public space, and whether you're doing it on your personal page or designated page specifically for you as a council person or whatnot. That's where the analysis can open up. So again, my recommendation would be to one, not engage in any sort of city-related discussions on your personal Facebook page. And I'll use Facebook as the example kind of going across. You probably want to clarify and make it clear that that is your personal Facebook page, and then not use that to engage in any sort of city discussion. What a lot of people are doing, what the recommendation is that if you are going to be involved in the social media world, which is, it's an important, I mean, people, unfortunately or fortunately, people go to social media to get a majority of their information. So having a presence on there is important to be able to disseminate correct information. But having a standalone page that's specifically for you in your official capacity, that's separate from, so if you want to talk about, Dalton, I'm going to pick on him, if coming delivery in May that he'd like to, share with everyone, he should do that on his personal page. He shouldn't do it on his, council person page if he were to have to. But, so that would be my recommendation, is that if you're going to continue engaging in this type of conversation on social media, you should give serious consideration to the creation of your social media presence as a council person. That's where you can go and you can weigh in on, you can solicit feedback from residents on issues you want that they would like you to address, or anything that's related to the function of your role as a council person. That's where that should take place, and it shouldn't take place on your personal page, because again, one, if there's always going to be people that disagree with you, and if someone starts disagreeing with you on your personal page and you block them or you remove comments, Well, then now, whether it's right or wrong, you're potentially subjecting yourself to that inquiry and that evaluation as to whether or not you know, are you utilizing this as a personal, are we crossing that line into a quasi-public role with your personal page? Does that involvement now, we analyze that, does that involvement now trigger a violation of someone's First Amendment? Did you follow all the appropriate due process in going through and providing them with an opportunity to have a hearing on their negative comment before review? So it becomes quite ridiculous when you think about it from personal perspective. Would you ever do that if someone posted something on your Facebook page that you didn't like? No, you just take it down. But these are additional levels that you have to be aware of when you're functioning in this capacity. So again, the caution would be to separate the two. Use your personal social media platforms for just that, for your social media purposes. And then if you have official business, I don't know, I think you had a Facebook page when you were running.
Mhm.
I don't know if you still have that or not, but that.
I mean, I do,
a
but
lot
I
of-
don't use it.
Yeah.
And I was about to
And a lot of
ask
people,
you
yeah, and a lot
the
of people
question.
do that. They, so when you're running for you're not an elected official. You can put whatever you want on there. But a lot of people will then transition those, and that's what I've been hearing is people do is they will transition their campaign pages
Mhm.
into, now here I am, Councilmember Jennings, and this is my official Facebook page. If you have issues, you want to reach out to me or discussions, this is where it's done. It's not done on your personal page, so.
I think.
But I thought we discussed not having personal council pages.
Well, we discussed yes, we did discuss
because
that.
of FOIA purposes.
Well, because of that and because of the archiving purposes.
Right.
The fact that if it's an official correspondence from the city, but again, I'm telling, because I know everybody has social media. I shouldn't say I know everybody has, but I know a lot of you have social media. And I know a lot of you utilize it to communicate with residents on issues that are city related. You weigh in on conversations that are taking place. You may have additional facts that you're sharing with people. And while that's important, it's just you have to understand that comes with a heightened level. If someone were to take a position or approach the city and say that why are my contents are being moderated, my comments are being regulated and removed, or I've been blocked from this I can't access this individuals, and I know that they're posting and other people can see what they're saying, but I can't, and that's it gets into a very, very convoluted area. So again, yes, ideally you just want to use social media, but I understand that that's not realistic. So my caution is that if you are going to do it, to do a separate political page that, and then don't moderate anything on there because people have the freedom to say whatever they want. You don't necessarily have to agree with it, but they have that ability to say whatever they want, and so that's where you kind of have to let them speak, but not moderate. It's not your responsibility to moderate a public discussion.
I think the bigger issue for us, because I don't think, I don't want to speak for everybody, I don't think anybody has their own political page. I think the bigger issue for us is posting on, we've got citywide social media sites, that posting on those sites with information or comments, again, we've talked about this in the past. I mean, one, it opens us up because if I comment and then Kelly comments and then Jason comments, there you violated the OMA. It's not being archived. We tried that at one point and it was outrageously expensive, so.
And that's where the policy has kind of evolved to, and where it's currently at is that, my understanding is that there's a city page that's involved with that, and the city page can comment on that.
I'm thinking more of like Villagers, Village Voice, that kind of thing, as opposed to the official city site, so that's,
But it wasn't, I thought, my understanding was that the city was going to have a presence on those
No, we
other-
stopped doing
No.
that because of the archiving, that's what.
right, but that
that's
was
what I'm saying.
Villagers.
Yeah, but we stopped because the archiving of it was,
Double.
too
It's
expensive.
like $5,000 additional.
So again, if it's not being archived, then it shouldn't be utilized. And same thing would go for your individual pages. Again, I just can't, I know it's hard to kind of stay out of that, but it is important. I don't like the idea of saying create, you know, and then jump on there and then start having these, because you're right, it is something that would then have to be archived.
So one thing I did take from that court case, and I talked to someone I know who was a judge on this, is that to make sure if you have a personal social media page that you put on there, that, as you said, it's my personal one with my opinions, and you will be deleted with, I've already done it, that's why I had to make sure.
No, like I said, I think, and then just being careful going forward that you're not crossing that line, right? Like you're not using your personal page to have those conversations with other residents about issues that they may want you to address, or
But if they make a comment on your personal picture, you have the freedom to,
Yeah.
like, it has nothing to do with the city, like, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
no, if
But
you're,
that's
if
where
you're,
that's the lawsuit though, where somebody was saying that his First Amendment rights was violated because they did not designate
Well,
it as their
and
personal
it started
page.
in the case that originally started out at, I think it was the mayor of Port Huron. It was a Michigan city.
City
that-
manager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
City manager. I thought
It
it
was
was
James Reed.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. And he had posted comments on his personal page as well as the city's page of just in relation to policies that they had adopted relative to COVID-19. And there was a resident that disagreed with what they were doing. They felt they hadn't done enough, and it got into a back and forth. And at some point, he just blocked Mr. Linky, and that's what led to this whole process. So, yeah. So again, I know trying to get it out there is important sometimes, but again, the utilization of your own personal social media, it really, you gotta try to stay away from it. And if it's something that needs to be addressed, then that's where you know, I look at Mike, cause he's really our last social media presence for the city. So, you know, that's something that he, you know, let the city do their postings, let the city do that, and try to refrain from doing it as an individual.
I mean, one suggestion, and I've done this before, in fact, I did this last weekend, is I've read something on social media that was completely incorrect, and so I used my city email to email that person directly. So then it's FOIA-able, and it's not done through social media, it's done through an official, through my official email address, so, I mean, that's the way I handle it a lot of times.
Yeah, and you're not regulating it, you're not
Right.
taking it down or attempting to mitigate, you know, or minimize what they may have said or their viewpoint.
Yeah.
It's not a bad way to address.
If you can get if you have the email,
If- yeah.
if a lot of times it's in the Lathrop Village directory, so I always check that. And,
Question.
Sure.
How does this pertain to emojis on social media? Like if I thumbs up something, is that me
That
being
commentary?
excited, or is that me?
I mean, again, it's more so, yeah, you can, I mean, if you want a thumbs up something, you can do that. What I'm cautioning you against is engaging in prolonged discussions and debates, especially on your own page, which results in, and I know you're a pretty reactive guy, you might get upset and just block somebody and delete them. That's what I'm trying to, that's
If
what
I
I'm
could
trying to
block
prevent.
you.
Yeah.
Search it.
Oh.
Right on
So,
top.
yeah, see, right on time.
he sensed you were about to got to lose it.
Cop show.
So, any other questions about social media? Okay.
So, well, I'm
Go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I don't know, I feel like your statements are very loose. Like, is there a way you could draft something, like, I just don't feel like you're.
We have a social media policy. I'm trying to let you guys make your own choices. I'm highlighting some of the pitfalls in this issue, in this area, but you're all adults, and so you're all gonna make your own decisions on how you wanna manage your social media, who you wanna talk to, what type of comments you wanna make. Because just like the residents have the freedom to speak, you guys are residents and individuals too, and you have an opinion that you're free to share. But I'm just bringing to your attention that because of your because of the additional title that you have behind your name, as a council person, that comes with additional responsibilities and potentially additional pitfalls. So,
Yeah.
while I would say don't do it,
I know. I just felt
if
like
I
you
could write a
just-
policy that said
like-
don't do it, then that's what
I
I
feel
would
like
write.
from 2020, like you just opened up this can of worms. You know, like from where we were to what you just said. Seems like you're like opening it up for people to have a Facebook page when we literally went 3 years with saying none of us should make a Facebook page.
Well, you shouldn't, and I stand by that. But I can't tell you not to do it. If you absolutely want it, you have every right to have your own social media page, and you can weigh in on things if you want. Again,
So again, not to put all of it on Scott, I asked him to bring it up again because of the court proceedings, and to protect each one of I'm suggesting to you also protect yourself, because we've had, let's just be very transparent, at least for me, I've had an onslaught of things that I'm not gonna accept people saying to me, especially on my social media page, and I have deleted them and blocked them and will continue to do so. So, because of that particular court case, is even made it more important to bring it up again, or either put that type of disclosure on your personal one.
I understand.
So that's.
I was more so talking about the city side. I get your side. I was just saying, like, I felt like we were very tight on that, and so it was just
This is
like
reiteration.
I don't have a plan to open up that worm, but I'm just saying I felt like we were very.
well then good. If we're not, I wasn't really sure what the plan was, if there was plans on expanding it or not. But again, if you're all grown ups, if it's something you really want to do, you can do that. But again, just understand that there's risk associated with that.
Next up.
Okay, are we good with that? Or shall we just speed it just a little bit more?
Well, if we're gonna.
So we're not. So we're gonna move on to, you have
No.
something, okay. Short-term rental legislation, this was brought up because we thought.
Because I lied to you.
I was trying to be nice.
No, I had read an article, and I must have misread it, that was talking about, for short-term rentals, the legislature is, I thought it had passed, but it's in committee, and they're talking
The
about.
state legislature?
State, yeah. And so they are talking about allowing local communities to assess a 6% tax on short-term rentals to accommodate public services that are provided and infrastructure degradation and so forth. But it's still it's one of these, it's part of compromise short-term legislation that they're trying to pass. And it looks, at least from what I've read since, it looks like it's likely to pass, but it hasn't passed yet. So it suggested to us discussing it as to whether or not we wanted to put a local tax on there. But then Kelly wanted to keep it on there just to talk about short-term rentals anyway, so I think that makes sense, so.
So the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because I think that is something that we just need to keep in front of us, because we have had complaints from residents in regards to short-term rentals and how they trash strewn all about. The rentals will be ending like on a Saturday or something, and the trash is not picked up till Monday. And so I'm just thinking if that's something that, I guess, the legislature is taking it over, we don't have to do too much, but just something to keep in the front.
Well,
Any
and
update on
just to
that?
add on that, so this has come up before, but under our current business ordinances, we don't differentiate between long-term, short-term rentals. It's defined as renting it to someone for any period of time. So theoretically, all of our any short-term rental property in the city would be subject to the same ordinances that any other landlord, any other rental property would be subject to, which registration, inspection, those are all things that, and a lot of times that's the nature of, rentals, is that the owner is not necessarily there, things aren't always caught when that happens, or when stuff happens, and so you want to have a regular inspection program to make sure that these properties are safe for the people that are coming in and out of it. It's also having it registered and having a contact that's current, so that if you do have issues, cause that's been one of the big, is trying to get a hold of individuals, that, this name is on the tax bill, that's who we send the bill to, that, but we don't really know who the contact person is for that property. And so having that information, enforcing what our ordinances already require, I think is, would go a long way in avoiding some of those issues. Obviously not all of them, but, yeah, there has been a number of, and it's frustrating too, because, we'll get an order, someone is coming in and using this property in a way that's inconsistent with our ordinances, and we'll get an order to correct the action, but then there's really not much you can do with it once, they're short of sending out our DPW guys to go pick up the trash on Monday morning and assessing the cost back to the property owner.
So 2 questions. Mike, do you or anyone in your office or code enforcement, is it something that we could regularly have them just go on like VRBO, Airbnb, and do a search on Lathrop Village and then cross-reference that against business licenses, inspections, and things like that?
I can definitely work with our new code enforcement officer. I know Rob, when he was up here, he would check every now and then. One of the toughest things with it, since those sites are so volatile, where you can put it up one day, take it off,
Right.
You have to hopefully catch it at the right moment, or someone calls you like, hey, there's short-term rental next to me. All of a sudden you're looking on the sites, there's nowhere there.
Right.
So.
But it seems like if
yeah,
it's
we can
something
definitely put it
that
on
maybe
the radar,
periodically
but-
every other month or something like that. And then as long as, I know I emailed you for an update, but as long as we're talking about it, is there any update with the rainbow issue? With the trash?
Yeah, that's one that's been.
Yeah,
reported
that's,
a couple times.
yeah, we've been, I'm trying to think, I think we had one order for corrective action that we've gotten entered, but.
I know at the last council meeting, there were 2 incidents in the, code enforcement review that said they had issued something, they had like 7 days to take care of the issue. I don't know if it was ever taken care of, but I don't think it was, because the resident reached out to me again, last week. So I don't know where we stand. I mean, I know we were in between code enforcers, so there was a gap there, but as long as we're on it.
Is there any precedent for other communities nearby having separate language?
Yeah, there is. I mean, Milford has a short-term rental ordinance that they have worked on. They're still having some of the same problems even with the ordinance. I mean,
Yeah.
unfortunately, people that come in and utilize these properties aren't always respectful of the neighbors.
Right.
Sure.
And that's just kind of, there's really not a lot you can do to regulate that. It's just kind of the nature of the use, fortunately.
Okay. Anyone else, any other questions for this?
I
Next.
won't lie to you again, I'm sorry.
So now we have public comments, where speakers are limited to 3 minutes. You all are familiar with the rules, hopefully. Anyone have anything for public comments?
I need to ask a question. The question has to be on topics we've discussed, or the comment needs to be on
No.
things?
No.
No? That's what I thought it said, okay.
For when you get into the council meeting, there's 2 different
Okay.
comment periods. One's for what's on the agenda, and one is for when you have a comment for whatever.
Okay.
But for study session, it's for whatever. But it's still, the fact it's not a question and answer, it is a,
Right.
yeah.
Well, I have a comment.
Can
We
you
all
say,
saw-
state your name?
I'm sorry?
Can you state your
Ann
name?
Runyon, 40-year resident. I saw the listing of all the overdue water bills in Lathrop, and I think I counted there was at least 150 homes that had not paid, some of them as much as $6,000-7,000. I added it up very quickly, and this is not accurate, but it was over $100,000. And my question is how does it get to that point? Why aren't, what is the procedure for letting a family or a resident know that they have not paid their water bill for month after month after month? when we're getting ready to spend $1 million or whatever it's gonna be for these new meters, why are we doing that when we have 150 people not even doing anything with their water bills, paying it? That's my comment.
So I will answer that one. We do get our money back. We get it back from the, Oakland County. That's why they're on this, list. So it has nothing, one has nothing to do with the other. So when someone doesn't pay their water bill, it goes on to their tax bill. They don't pay their tax bill, that's on the county, but Lathrop Village gets their money back
From the county.
from the county.
So the homeowner is just exempt from paying it then?
So, no, it goes on their taxes. They
Right.
don't pay their taxes, their
That's what
houses goes into a tax foreclosure on their home. So there's many people that don't pay their water bill because it just goes towards their taxes, and so they just pay it all, you know, like, I have all my taxes, mortgage, everything is all in one, so one payment I make, it goes for my taxes. So there might be other people that are doing the same thing, instead of paying month over month, I'll just pay through my taxes the 2 times a year. Or, when you see tax foreclosures, some of those tax foreclosures, if you go to the Oakland County site for foreclosures, they're being foreclosed on because they didn't pay their taxes, which was from them not paying the water bill.
So is there communication with the homeowner during this
Absolutely, it's
time?
called a water bill that comes every month. That they, I mean, that's the only thing that you're gonna get is the bill. Some of the houses, from what I saw, these are not just residential houses, businesses own it. A real estate, agency might own it. Could be in for, trust issues. So nonetheless, bottom line, which I think I'm hearing the most important thing that you're saying is, does Lathrop Village get their money? Yes, we get our money from Oakland County. Has nothing to do with any money that we're spending elsewhere.
Yeah, but it's delayed to that point.
It's gonna be delayed, but you're still, one bucket doesn't feed another bucket.
Does the code enforcement, deal with that, or does the water, billing, who goes around to check on the meters? Is it
So-
somebody?
For the interest of anyone else that might wanna speak in our next meeting, I think, are these questions that could be answered after?
What do you mean?
Well, we can answer them during
So-
during
so-
council comments,
so
so
to
I'll
not
answer
do
some of
the-
that when she's.
So to not do the back and forth, if anyone else wanted to speak,
Okay.
could we wait, could someone answer your questions after, I guess? I'm not sure if that's but.
Or if you want to, just to make sure that it's recorded, you can ask the same question during the meeting.
Okay.
Was there any, but prior to, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions, any comments?
I do. I have a question about the ditches. So there's some markings on the road on the side of my house, that says ATT/D CLR, which I don't know what that means, but, and then it has 2 arrows on each side. But I wasn't notified of any digging or anything next to my home. And I was also notified that my water will be cut off tomorrow for like 4 hours. So, I'm just wondering if, in fact, the city does any ditch digging, do they notify you, or could this be an outside company digging? I don't know. That's all.
So for you, afterwards we can chat and I can get your exact address, but most likely there's water main work going on by your house. That's why your water's getting shut off, and the painting for the AT&T and everything, that's misdig. Naturally, when we're digging in the ground for water mains, we don't want to hit any of those fiber lines or anything else underground. So that's all those painting marks are for.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else that has any, comments? Hearing none, did you, Mrs. Runyon, did you get your answer?
I'm sorry.
She said, did you get your answer?
Sorta. I think that the future will
This has
show.
been going on for years. It's not something that's new. I know Southfield does the exact same thing. I mean, with the, if your city doesn't turn your water off, it's gonna go on your tax bill.
Right.
That's it.
It's just the people that pay monthly, pay the full amount, it just, you know, it's troublesome to think that the Lake Village can't go after those people in a more personal or a more, aggressive way.
Well, they do. You threaten to lose your house over a water bill. So, I mean, I could not even, I think it's a much more humane way. If someone can't pay their water bill, instead of cutting off water and not giving, what basic needs are to people, I think that, I mean, this is just my own point of view. And this is something that is for years, I've heard, I mean.
Maybe years, yeah, but 150 homes?
I'm sure there's many more in other
Yeah.
cities.
And it's a lot less than it's been in years past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
No penalties on top of that.
So is there anything else for the good of the cause? Anybody has any? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just, so just to comment on that, a lot of people do that because it does go on the tax bill and they think they can deduct it. So that's a reason why a lot of people do that. Now, that's illegal, but that's why a lot of people do that. The other thing that you said, you made a comment about, something about new meters, and I know there's a lot of talk. Council has not officially talked about new meters. It's well over a year and a half. That was something we were trying to figure out as part of the water loss problem. And there was a strong suspicion that it might have to do with the meters when you're losing 250,000 gallons of water a day, and it's not coming out anywhere. That tells you that it's somewhere in the system. And so, you know, we had checked everything that we had checked, and so we had suspected that it was the water meters. It turned out it was not the case. So there's a lot of misinformation going around. We have not, this council has not talked at all about replacing water meters, and we hadn't talked about it
Oh, I thought-
for about a year prior to that, I believe. And then knowing where you live, there's water main projects that are going around right by your house, so that's gonna be why.
Anyone else have any, not that I'm packing up to make you stop talking, but any other comments? Hearing none, I would, adjourn to, oh, what?
No, it was, no,
What?
no, no.
What?
No, what?
God, y'all are some silly people today.
Who's on first?
We're done, before we even go down this road. The squeaky wheel.